Ladies and gentlemen, life is a brutal yet magnificent journey. We move forward step by step, accumulating experience, wisdom, and yes, our fair share of suffering. And as we age, the weight of the years can either crush us or refine us into something formidable, something noble. But here's the truth. How you speak to yourself each morning determines the kind of day you'll live, the kind of person you'll become. Words are not just sounds. They are tools, they are weapons, they are the very architecture of meaning. And in old age, when the body weakens but the mind still has the power to shape reality, there are 5 lines you must speak every morning. 5 lines that can fortify your spirit, give structure to your day, and remind you of your own resilience. Because if you don't choose your words carefully, if you don't remind yourself of what truly matters, the chaos of life will do it for you, and it won't be kind. So today, let's talk about these 5 powerful lines, why they matter, and how they can transform the way you live your later years with strength, dignity, and purpose. Existence itself is a remarkable thing. To wake up each morning, to draw a breath, to be here in this moment, it is not something to be taken lightly. Life is unpredictable, often cruel, sometimes beautiful, but always moving forward. And the fact that you are still here means that you are still a part of that unfolding story. You have not been cast aside by time. You have not been rendered irrelevant by the weight of years. You are here, and that means something. That means there is still work to do, still lessons to learn, still moments to be had that will define not only your future, but the legacy you leave behind. People often believe that purpose is something external, something that must be achieved or discovered, as if it is a distant prize waiting at the end of some great journey. But the truth is that purpose is not something you find. It is something you decide. It is something you choose to embody every single day. The moment you wake up and acknowledge that you are still here, you are making a declaration that your life still matters, that your presence still carries weight, and that there is still something left for you to do, no matter your age or your circumstances. Too many people, as they grow older, fall into the trap of thinking that their best days are behind them, that they have nothing left to contribute, that the world has moved on and left them behind. But that is not true. They are still here. Then you still have a role to play. Maybe it is not the same role you once had, maybe the shape of your life has changed, but that does not mean that your presence has lost its value. The wisdom you have gained, the experiences you have endured, the lessons you have learned, these are things that no young person can possess without walking the same long road that you have traveled. And that wisdom is needed now more than ever. Your purpose does not have to be grand or world-changing in some dramatic way. Purpose is not about fame or recognition. It is about meaning. It is about waking up and understanding that your existence has significance, that there are people in your life, whether they be family, friends, or even strangers, who can benefit from your presence, from your words, from your example. You do not have to lead a revolution to be valuable. Sometimes just being there for someone, just offering a kind word, just living with integrity and grace in the face of life's challenges is enough. Purpose also evolves with time. When you were young, your purpose might have been to build a career, to raise a family, to achieve personal milestones. But as you grow older, that purpose shifts. It becomes about passing on what you have learned, about being a source of stability and wisdom, about showing others, especially the younger generations, what it means to live with dignity, resilience, and strength. It is easy to overlook the quiet impact that an older person can have on the world, but that impact is real. A single conversation, a single moment of guidance, a single act of patience can change the course of another person's life in ways that may never be fully realized. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when the aches and pains of aging make you feel weak, when the fast-moving world makes you feel out of place. But those are the moments when you must remind yourself that you are still here. And as long as you are here, you are still part of the great unfolding narrative of life. The story does not end until you decide it does. Every morning that you wake up is another chance to contribute, to engage, to live with purpose. There is still laughter to be shared, still love to be given, still knowledge to be passed down. The moment you stop believing in your own purpose is the moment you begin to fade, not because life has discarded you, but because you have allowed yourself to believe that your presence no longer matters. It is easy to compare yourself to who you once were, to measure your current self against the strength, energy, and ambitions of your younger days. But that is not a fair comparison. The younger you had its own challenges, its own struggles, its own moments of uncertainty. And yet you pushed forward, you adapted, you learned. And now in this stage of life, the challenges are different, but the solution remains the same: to face each day with the understanding that you are still part of something greater, that your life still holds meaning, and that you are not done yet. Wisdom is not something that comes easily. It is not given freely, nor is it something that can be learned in a single moment. It is earned, carved out of experience, built over years of struggle, success, failure, and reflection. The world often glorifies youth, its energy, its ambition, its recklessness, but youth lacks what time provides: perspective. You have lived through seasons of change, through moments of hardship, through times when everything seemed uncertain, and yet you endured. Every challenge you have faced, every lesson you have learned, has shaped you into someone who carries within them a depth of understanding that cannot be replicated by those who have not yet walked the same path. Strength is often misunderstood. Many believe it is about physical power, about endurance, about the ability to push through pain and hardship with sheer force. And while that may be true in part, real strength is something far deeper. It is the ability to remain steady when life becomes unpredictable. It is the patience to navigate situations that cannot be fixed with immediate action. It is the wisdom to know when to fight and when to accept, when to lead and when to listen. And it is wisdom that gives you this strength, the ability to see beyond the immediate, to understand that struggles come and go, that pain is temporary, and that the meaning of life is not found in avoiding hardship, but in growing through it. Every day you wake up, you carry with you a lifetime of knowledge. You have seen the patterns of human nature, the cycles of success and failure, the way people rise and fall, and through all of it, you have gained an understanding that no book, no theory, no classroom can ever teach. You know what truly matters? You know that wealth and possessions fade, that status and titles are fleeting, that the real measure of a person is not what they have, but how they live. You have seen the consequences of decisions, both good and bad, and you have learned the value of patience, the importance of integrity, and the necessity of resilience. The world often moves too quickly, obsessed with new trends, new ideas, new ways of thinking. It forgets that some truths are timeless, that wisdom is not about keeping up with the latest movement, but about understanding the foundations upon which life itself is built. Well, you have this understanding. You have seen how impulsive decisions lead to regret, how pride can destroy relationships, how kindness, even in the smallest measure, can change the course of someone's life. And because you know these things, you hold a power that many younger people do not yet have: the ability to guide, to teach, to share what you have learned, so that others may benefit from the road you have already traveled. Your wisdom is your strength because it allows you to move through life with clarity, while others may be consumed by trivial worries, chasing after things that will not satisfy them. You know what is truly valuable. You know the worth of a quiet moment, the importance of family, the necessity of honesty. You are not easily shaken by the opinions of others because you have learned that most people are too consumed by their own fears to judge you fairly. You are not easily deceived by false promises because you have seen enough to know what is real and what is empty. There will always be challenges, always be things that test your patience, always be moments when doubt creeps in. But you are not the same person you once were. The younger version of you may have been uncertain, may have struggled to make sense of things, may have felt lost at times, but you have grown. You have evolved. You have become someone who understands that every challenge contains a lesson, that every difficulty has the potential to make you stronger, and that the greatest power you have is not in controlling the world around you, but in mastering your own mind, your own emotions, your own reactions. Others may look at you and see only the years that have passed, but they do not see the battles you have won, the storms you have weathered, the knowledge you have gained. You know what it means to endure, what it means to endure, what it means to lose and still move forward, what it means to face hardship and emerge wiser. That wisdom is your greatest asset, your most valuable possession, and the source of the strength that allows you to face each day with certainty, with purpose, and with the quiet confidence of someone who has truly lived. Gratitude is not something that comes naturally to most people. It is easy to focus on what has been lost, on the things that have changed, on the opportunities that have passed by. Regret has a way of creeping in, whispering about what could have been, about the choices that might have led to a different life. But the past is fixed. No amount of dwelling on it will alter a single moment. What can be changed, however, is the way you choose to see your life now. Gratitude is a choice, and it is one that must be made every single day. Regret is heavy. It sits on the shoulders, weighing a person down, making the present feel smaller, less meaningful. It convinces the mind to look backward instead of forward, to replay old mistakes, to wonder endlessly about alternate possibilities. But regret is a thief. It steals joy from the moments that are still unfolding. It blinds a person to the blessings that exist right now, in this very moment. The ability to wake up, to breathe, to see, to hear, to think, to exist at all is something that many do not have. The world is filled with people who would give anything for just one more day, and yet those who are granted that time so often waste it by looking backward instead of embracing what is in front of them. Every person has faced hardship. No one's life is free of pain, of loss, of moments that leave lasting scars. But within that struggle, there have also been victories. There have been moments of laughter, of love, of connection, of learning. To live a life only seeing what went wrong is to ignore the beauty that has also been present. Every hardship endured has brought wisdom. Every loss has made the heart stronger. Every mistake has been an opportunity to learn. And yet so many people choose to focus only on what could have been instead of what is. Gratitude is powerful. It shifts the way the mind works. It changes the way life is experienced. A person who begins each day with gratitude will find themselves seeing the world differently. The small things, a warm cup of coffee, the sound of birds in the morning, the feeling of sunlight on the skin, begin to take on meaning. Conversations become richer, connections become deeper, and life itself begins to feel fuller. Gratitude does not mean ignoring pain or pretending that hardship does not exist. It means choosing to recognize that even in the midst of difficulty, there is still good to be found. The challenge is that the human mind is wired to focus on problems. It is always searching for what is wrong, what needs to be fixed, what could go wrong next. This instinct was useful in times when survival depended on constant vigilance, but in modern life, it often does more harm than good. The habit of focusing on what is missing, on what has been lost, on what could have been, creates a cycle of dissatisfaction that can last a lifetime. Gratitude is the antidote to this cycle. It is the deliberate practice of shifting focus from what is lacking to what is present. It is the decision to wake up and acknowledge before anything else that life itself is a gift. There is always something to be grateful for. Even in the most difficult of times, even when everything seems uncertain, there is still something that can be appreciated. The body, though it may not be as strong as it once was, still carries on. The mind, though it may hold memories of sorrow, also holds memories of joy. The heart, though it has been wounded, still beats. Still, every moment of existence is an opportunity to embrace life, to find meaning in the present, to appreciate what is, instead of longing for what was. The people who master gratitude are the ones who live fully. They are the ones who, despite their struggles, seem to carry a lightness within them. They understand that life is not about avoiding hardship, but about embracing the full range of experience, about recognizing that every breath, every moment, every connection with another person is something to be cherished. They do not ignore pain, but they do not let it define them. They do not erase the past, but they do not let it overshadow the present. It is a choice, a simple daily choice, to wake up and say, I am grateful. To look around and find something, anything, that is good. To recognize that despite everything that has been lost, there is still so much left to be experienced. The past cannot be changed, but the way the present is lived can be. Gratitude is not just about being thankful for what has been given. It is about refusing to let regret steal the joy of what still remains. Control is one of the greatest struggles of human existence. People spend their lives trying to control their surroundings, their circumstances, and the behavior of others. Yet so much of life remains unpredictable, chaotic, and beyond anyone's influence. The harder a person tries to dictate every outcome, the more frustration and disappointment they invite into their lives. There comes a point when wisdom demands an acceptance of this truth. Control is not found in the external world. It is found within. The only true power a person has is over their own mind, their actions, and their attitude. This realization is both liberating and terrifying because it means that responsibility for peace, for happiness, and for purpose does not rest in the hands of fate, luck, or other people. It rests in the choices made every single day. The mind is a battlefield. Thoughts appear uninvited, doubts creep in, fears whisper in the quiet moments. It is easy to let the mind run wild, to let emotions dictate actions, to become a slave to anxiety, resentment, or regret. But emotions are not facts, and thoughts do not have to be obeyed. Just as a person can train their body to become stronger, they can train their mind to become disciplined. It takes effort. It takes the willingness to recognize negative patterns and the determination to change them. No one is born with a perfectly controlled mind. It is something that must be developed through conscious effort. The ability to step back from a destructive thought, to refuse to let anger take over, to choose gratitude over bitterness. These are skills that require practice, but they are skills that can transform an entire life. Actions follow thoughts. A person who believes they are powerless will act as though they are. A person who believes they are a victim of circumstance will never take charge of their own life. But the opposite is also true. Though a person who chooses to think with purpose, to direct their mind towards strength, towards solutions, toward resilience, will act accordingly. The way a person moves through the world is a reflection of the way they think. No one can control every situation, but they can control how they respond. They can control their effort, their discipline, their ability to remain calm in the face of adversity. They can control whether they meet challenges with fear or with determination. Attitude is the foundation of everything. It is what determines whether life feels like a burden or a gift. The same situation can be experienced in completely different ways depending on the attitude brought into it. A person who sees aging as a decline will experience every day as a loss. A person who sees it as an opportunity for wisdom, for reflection, for a deeper understanding of life, will experience every day as something valuable. Attitude is a choice, and it is one of the most powerful choices a person can make. It determines whether obstacles break a person or build them. It determines whether setbacks become an excuse to give up or an opportunity to grow. It determines whether a person lives with bitterness or with peace. Many people believe that happiness comes from external circumstances, that if only they had more money, more recognition, more success, they would finally feel at peace. But happiness is not something that can be given. It is something that must be created. It does not come from what happens, but from how a person chooses to interpret and respond to what happens. There are people with everything who are miserable, and there are people with almost nothing who are joyful. The difference is not in what they have, but in how they think. Life is unpredictable. There will always be things that cannot be changed, things that do not go as planned, moments of loss, of pain, of uncertainty. But even in those moments, there is always a choice, the choice to control what can be controlled. The choice to let go of what cannot. The choice to meet each day with the mindset of someone who refuses to be defeated, someone who understands that while they may know that while we're over everything, they have power over themselves. And that is more than enough. Legacy is not something built in a single moment. It is not a grand gesture, a single achievement, or a name carved into history books. Legacy is the sum of small daily actions, the quiet choices made when no one is watching, the way a person treats others, and the values they live by. People often think of legacy as something that begins after they are gone, but that is not true. Legacy is something being created every day in every interaction, in every word spoken, in every act of kindness or courage. It is not something that happens later. It is happening now. Kindness is one of the most underestimated forms of strength. It is often seen as something soft, something passive, something secondary to power or success. But real kindness requires great courage. It requires patience when frustration would be easier, understanding when judgment comes naturally, and generosity even when no reward is guaranteed. To be kind in a world that is often harsh, indifferent, or ungrateful is to stand against the tide, to choose to be a source of warmth when so many choose coldness. And kindness is remembered. Long after conversations fade, long after actions are forgotten, the way a person made others feel remains. That is the foundation of legacy. Courage is another pillar of a lasting legacy. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. It is the willingness to stand for something, to speak when silence would be easier, to live with integrity even when no one else is looking. Courage is required not just in great moments of challenge, but in everyday life. It takes courage to be honest, to be vulnerable, to admit mistakes, to change. It takes courage to let go of old anger, to forgive, to move forward instead of dwelling on the past. It takes courage to live fully, to keep learning, to keep growing, even when the world says that time has passed. And courage, like kindness, leaves an imprint on the lives of others. People do not remember the wealth a person had. They do not remember the titles, the possessions, the superficial markers of success. What they remember is the impact that person had, the conversations that changed them, and the lessons that were shared. The moments when someone showed up, offered a word of encouragement, gave them the strength to keep going. Legacy is built in those moments. It is not measured in what is left behind in material form, but in the way a person's presence shaped the lives around them. Living with the awareness of legacy changes the way life is approached. It creates a shift in perspective, a deeper understanding that every action matters. Simple act of kindness can ripple outward, affecting people in ways that cannot be seen. A moment of courage can inspire someone else to take a step they were afraid to take. A choice to live with integrity can remind others of the importance of truth. Legacy is built in the unseen, in the quiet moments, in the decisions that seem small but carry great weight over time. No one lives forever, but the impact of a life well lived does not disappear. A kind word spoken decades ago can still echo in someone's heart. A lesson shared in passing can alter the course of another's journey. The love given freely without expectation can continue to be felt long after the giver is gone. That is the essence of legacy. It is not about fame or recognition, but about the lasting effect of a life lived with meaning. To wake up each day with the intention of leaving a legacy of kindness and courage is to live with purpose. It is to understand that every encounter is an opportunity to uplift. Every challenge is a chance to show resilience. And every decision is a building block in the story that will be left behind. It is not about waiting for a perfect moment to make a difference. It is about recognizing that the chance to make a difference is always present in every day, in every choice. Peace is something many people spend their lives chasing, believing it to be something external, something that will come once circumstances are perfect. Once the past is resolved, once everything falls into place. Peace is not found in the outside world. But it is not something that can be given or taken away by events, by people, or by fortune. Peace is something created within, something cultivated by the way a person chooses to think, to perceive, to respond to life. It is not a prize at the end of the journey. It is a decision made every single day, every single day. People often tie their sense of peace to conditions. They believe they will find it once they have enough money, once their relationships are perfect, once they have achieved a certain goal. But the problem with conditional peace is that it is always fragile. There will always be another problem, another uncertainty, another unexpected change. If peace depends on everything being right, it will always be out of reach. True peace is not about the absence of problems. It is about learning to remain steady even in the presence of them. It is about understanding that life is unpredictable, that control is limited, but that inner stability is always possible. Mind is often the greatest enemy of peace. It clings to the past, replays old mistakes, reopens old wounds. It creates fear about the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, worrying about things that have not yet happened and may never happen. It focuses on what is missing instead of what is present, on what is wrong instead of what is right. The mind, left unchecked, can turn even the calmest moment into a storm. But just as the mind can create turmoil, it can also create peace. It can be trained to let go of unnecessary worries, to focus on what can be controlled, to accept what cannot be changed. Letting go is one of the most important skills in finding peace. Letting go of past regrets, of old grudges, of the need for everything to be perfect. Many people carry unnecessary burdens, holding on to pain that no longer serves them, replaying events that cannot be undone. But the past is unchangeable. No amount of thinking will rewrite it. The only power a person has is in how they choose to interpret it, and whether they allow it to define them or whether they choose to learn from it and move forward. Forgiveness is another essential part of peace. Not just forgiveness of others, but also of oneself. Many people spend years punishing themselves for past mistakes, carrying guilt that weighs them down, believing they do not deserve peace because of things they have done or failed to do. But self-punishment does not change the past. It only takes away the ability to fully live in the present. To forgive oneself is not to erase responsibility, but to acknowledge that mistakes are part of being human, that growth is always possible, that no one is defined by their worst moment. Peace also comes from simplicity. The modern world is filled with distractions, with noise, with endless demands for attention. It is easy to become lost in it, to chase things that do not matter, to compare, to compete, to constantly seek more. But peace is found in less, not more, in slowing down, in appreciating small moments, in recognizing that happiness is not in achieving everything, but in appreciating what already exists. A quiet morning, a meaningful conversation, a walk in nature. These are the moments where peace lives, yet they are often overlooked in the search for something bigger. Perspective shapes peace. Two people can experience the same situation and see it in completely different ways. One may see only hardship while another sees opportunity. One may focus on loss while another focuses on what remains. The difference is not in the world itself, but in the way it is interpreted. A person who trains their mind to see what is good, to find meaning in difficulty, to appreciate what they have, instead of focusing on what they lack, will naturally experience more peace. There will always be challenges. There will always be things outside of control. But peace is not found in avoiding difficulty. It is found in learning how to remain steady within it. It is found in understanding that the mind can be trained, that the past can be accepted, that simplicity can be embraced, that the present moment is the only moment that truly exists. It is found in the choice every single day to let go of what does not serve and to hold on to what truly matters.